Hey guys, it's Irad and today I'm bringing you a very special video. I'm going to educate you in 1v1s. I'm going to tell you about everything I know on how to consistently win 1v1s. I'm going to talk about the following things: how to start 1v1s with high ground consistently, how to avoid cones on high ground, how to play against side jumps, how to be able to edit on people without them trading the shot, how to find angles, how to pre-fire your opponent, how to regain high ground, and when you should take shots on low ground. Let's begin. Okay, first off, I'm going to be talking about starting fights. I'm going to be talking about starting fights against someone that does 290s, and I'm going to be talking about starting fights against someone that does triple 90s until you connect. First, let's start with the easy one, against 290s. Against 290s, what you want to do is a single triple 90. After that, you look to your left and you'll see the ramp of your opponent. Place a floor and a cone above both of their ramps. Then do another triple 90. This will guarantee you high ground. If of course you get at least one of the cone and the floor you place on their ramp, which won't be much of a problem as most people only cone their ramps at the moment. I'm going to show you guys 5 clips of me doing this, so you can really understand what's going on when I turn around, etc.
Kunnen dat ik met spelen.
I know what to do.
Okay, so now I'm going to show you how to start against someone that does triple 90s until you connect. What you want to do is 2 sets of triple 90s, then stretch over and cone your opponent as he's trying to do another set of 90s. Here's some examples so you know what I'm talking about.
Nah, that's actual lies. They sometimes don't feel like giving you the money that you want. Nah, you're decent. You're alright. Okay, hey, call me an edit.
Okay, so now that the start is done, I'm going to tell you guys in which situations to move to the side to prevent getting coned, resulting in losing high ground. In this first situation, I jump down a bit and that causes me to be one layer above my opponent. You never want to be one layer above your opponent, so I made a mistake in this clip. But that's the reason I'm showing you it, so you know what can happen to you when you are one layer above your enemy, and to show you that you can still keep high ground if it happens to you simply by moving to the side. In this next situation, I'm going to show you how to prevent getting coned after your opponent does 90s in the middle of a fight. His 90s will connect to my ramp, which give him the options to ramp out the other way, which is actually very slow, or to do a side jump and potentially cone me in his jump. This is always a possibility in this situation, so always move to the side to prevent getting coned.
Oh my god, did I put him in?
Okay, next up I'm going to show you guys how to make your opponent think they coned you, which will make them move to the side and try to shoot you in the back, but instead you'll get a free shot on them. I'll give you 2 examples. In these examples I recognize situations that I can potentially get coned, so I move to the side.
Had ik gecount aan? Nee.
In this next situation I tried to floor my opponent, but I miscalculated it just a little bit, but I could still save high ground by going to the side to prevent getting coned.
Let's see. How did I corner?
Next up, I just want to show you guys a quick way how to use floors to always keep high ground when someone does 90s. Now I'm going to show you guys how to start predicting your enemies. We're going to talk about pre-firing. First of all, I want to show you guys the basics of pre-firing. To be able to pre-fire someone, you need to pull your gun out after every layer you build. So when you're above someone and you keep building a floor, wall and stair to stay above them, pull your gun out after every layer so you'll be able to take shots when the opportunity arises. Once again, this is not yet pre-firing, but this is how you start to learn how to pre-fire. Okay, so when you have mastered that, you'll be able to notice when people are going to turn around. Like they don't place their ramp above them, that's often a sign that they are going to either place a cone or do 90s. When you have mastered this strategy, you'll be able to shoot your bullet just before they pop out, and you'll hit them before they can defend themselves. Here is what that looks like.
They just shot me from a build. What? You just shot me from...
Weak shots, bro, weak shots. Bruh.
In the next situation, someone is going to be ramping out next to you. As I told you before, when you don't instantly see a double ramp placed, they're often going to do 90s. So try to perfect shooting before they turn. Here's how.
Ik heb 3 maanden alleen.
Okay, so next I'm going to teach you guys how to pre-fire someone after they do 90s. So you're gonna want to hit them in between the time they turn around and they place the cones above them. You want to do this by shooting just before you can see them. Here's some examples.
Games like this. Like all the UK people. Yeah, unless you're from UK. What? Oh, fuck.
Okay, as we're about to start the side jumping part of this video, I want to show you guys how to pre-fire someone while they side jump.
I'm joking, bro. I never missed it. Oh my god.
Okay, so let's talk side jumps. Almost everyone side jumps. No one likes just going up in a straight line. Today I'm going to show you why you should actually never or almost never side jump. This is because there is always, and I mean always, a bit of time where you can potentially get hit from some angle. I'm going to show you those angles and how to find them. So it will be easier for you to know when someone will side jump, so their side jump will turn into an angle for you to shoot them. First I'm going to show you guys 2 clips from one fight where I find angles on my opponent due to him side jumping. After that we'll get in more in depth on how to actually find these angles. There is a lot, and I mean a lot of situations where you basically make someone side jump. The alternative would be ramping out backwards, which everyone knows is way slower. In the first situation I'm gonna show you guys, I ramp up right above my opponent. In a situation like this, your opponent will side jump 90% of the time. Which direction kind of depends on the player, but most players can tend to go to the right. You can always listen to which direction their footsteps are going. That's what I did in this first situation. Let me show you.
Deze keer ga ik die sidejump even niet laten doen hoor. Even de andere kant weet je.
In the next situation, someone runs right below my rampant floor. Instead of editing through what most people will do, I jump to the side before he does, which will give me a clear angle on him while he side jumps. Let me show you how it's done.
Nee, het moest een hit zijn. Ik kan 3 hit op je. Oh my god, dan komt deze.
I'm now gonna show you guys a similar situation as before. I ramp out right above my opponent and I already start looking and jumping right before he even side jumps, which will catch him off guard entirely. Okay, so now I'm going to show you guys how to hunt someone down with side jumps. Okay, so basically in this clip I hit him for like quite a lot, which makes him panic. I keep following him right above him, and when I floor him after he does 90s, I give him no choice but to side jump. As he predicts, I'll go edit on him, which actually catches him off guard because he thinks that.
Als ik nu zou zeggen, normaal ben ik veel beter, dat is gewoon iets wat iedereen zegt, snap je? Maar ik speel beter.
Okay, so first I'm going to show you guys another example of me ramping above someone and instantly jumping to my opponent's right so I can get a shot while he side jumps. Also, I'm going to show you another way of predicting a side jump, which we'll talk about more later, but just as a preview. I'm gonna show you one where I'm basically in the same situation as I was in the last clip, but this time I don't whiff my shot. Basically what you want to do is in a situation where you floor off his cones, build up one layer. This is in case he doesn't side jump, so you will be guaranteed to keep high ground, and also it will give you a better angle for a shot, so it's basically a must. As you can see, I give him no choice but to side jump and he jumps right into my aim. Just in case you guys don't really understand, I'll show you again with a different clip. I floor off his way up, leaving him no choice but to jump directly into my pre-aim. In that last clip I gave you guys a little bit of a teaser of what's yet to come, but first some more ways into predicting someone's side jump. After someone does a 180 or 90s, they will place cones and try to come up. I place floors on every side jump angle, leaving him no choice but to go to the one spot I want him to be, giving me another free angle. Here's how it's done.
Are you fucking serious? It is fast from home build.
Here is yet another situation in which you can predict someone's side jump. In this clip I hit my opponent and ramp over him straight away. Most people will just want to get out of there so they side jump, but you're gonna pre-jump before he is even there and get another free shot. I'm going to show you guys another way sound can help you predict someone's side jump. In this clip I was already looking to the right because people tend to go to the right, but sound helped me turn around and still pre-aim my opponent's side jump. As final tip regarding to side jumps, I want to show you guys how you can try to predict someone's side jump multiple times in a row, making them jump in your pre-aim. In part 6 I'm going to show you guys how you can pre-cone and floor someone so that you can edit on them without them trading the shot. In this first clip I cone and floor my opponent and get a shot off. As he is in a box there, he moves to the side straight away. I simply track where he is going and place a floor and a cone before he is in his next position, and start editing before he is even there, giving me a free shot as he runs through. This is one of many situations this is good play. Okay, so here is where it's going to start becoming complicated. This next situation is one of the best, and I mean best plays you can possibly make in a 1v1. If you do it just right, it can happen almost every single fight. For this we're going to combine going to the side with the pre-cone / floor trick. What we're gonna do is move to the side before our opponent does 90s and ramp over him. You need to be on the ramp on either the left or the right of him. What's gonna happen is he's going to turn around, but your floor and cone are already going to be there. Let me show you.
I want to fight.
This next one is going to be a lot simpler. I'm right above my enemy and I see him going back to try and 90 to get high ground. All I have to do is place floors and the cone right above him. Most people will run away instantly when they know they're both yours, so it will result in a free shot. You can also do this right after coning someone. By moving to the side instantly, here is how it's done. Okay, let's teach you guys how to get multiple shots in a row out of this. In some situations, your opponent is forced to go back out of the cone you just edited, resulting in a second shot for you. This only really happens when he can't go to the side.
Oh my god. Did he choke? Oh, I'm sorry.
Wait, that.
Next up, I'm going to show you guys in which situations you can actually pre-cone and floor people multiple times in a row. There's not many situations in which this can be done, but it is an easy win if it is. This usually only is possible by tracking your enemy. Here's some examples.
How?
Last but not least about this part, I want to show you guys what to do when your opponent is waiting for your edit. If this is the case, edit the cone and the floor fast, but right after you edit the floor, reset it so that he breaks the floor, resulting in a free shot on you. Okay, let's talk angles. First, let me explain what I mean by an angle. An angle is when you can shoot someone in the back without them having any idea where you shot them from, and without them being able to shoot back at all. I'm going to talk about how to find these angles and how to find multiple in a row, etc. First of all, we're going to start with a very special angle not a lot of people know about. When someone is in a box, they often ramp out again when you're right above them, right? So to prevent this from happening and actually turn this in your favor, you are going to place ramps before he ramps out, and also destroy the pyramid of his box, leaving him no choice but to ramp out. From inside the box he actually can barely see there is ramps above him, so people often don't notice. When he ramps out, edit the ramp he comes from for a free shot. I'll show you how it's done. Next, let's talk about consistently finding angles. For this, you'll have to ramp out one too far every time you are above someone. That is the key, the trick to it all. When above someone, ramp out an extra layer for the ability to get angles. I'll show you what I mean.
Get box, kid. Oh my god.
Another way to find an easy angle is when someone is on one ramp. Sometimes people ramp up one ramp and just edit through cones and think they're unstoppable. You're gonna shoot through cones, kind of. When a cone breaks, the animation is on your screen. You're gonna shoot through that animation. Your opponent will think that he is safe while he isn't. Let me show you.
I messed up so much, man.
Then there's another way to find an angle, where your opponent is right in front of you. Now when he knows this, he knows that he has the opportunity to retake high ground as he is right on your level. So he isn't gonna think much about where he is going and just ramp out on one side. If you're lucky, it will be next to you, as he expects you to be ramping out as well. You will be getting a massive shot on him. Let's talk about another crazy angle. We've already talked about shooting through a cone when someone is on one ramp. Now I'm going to show you what to do when someone is double editing, so editing through a cone and the floor, which will result in the cone not breaking. Now the thing about this is, a cone has 4 editable squares. If they edit the top 2 to make a ramp, you can't get an angle from above. But if they make a mistake and edit only 1 square, which happens on accident all the time, you'll be able to get an angle. Let me show you. Let's talk about getting multiple angles in a row. Doing this is very difficult and explaining it is even more difficult. What I'm going to be doing is getting myself in a position to shoot my enemy every time. In this first clip I'll use the Prefire method.
Kijk, sorry, nu ben ik echt trots op je.
In this next clip I get my first angle by pre-firing my opponent after he does 90s. After that I instantly pre-cone and floor him for another shot, and after that I simply track him for the 3rd shot.
Hoe was dat geen headshot?
Okay, so in this next clip I first get a hit on him by pre-cone slash flooring him using a method I previously discussed. After that I use the moving to the side method in combination with ramping out one too much to get another angle on my opponent. This next clip, it's basically a chain reaction. He makes a mistake by not double ramping, so I get a shot on him. He gets shook and instantly side jumps, which will give me another shot. And he side jumps again, giving me another. Pro tip here, when you get hit once, never turn around, it will only get worse. This next clip can speak for itself. In this next clip my opponent is really not that great at a game, but I'd like to show how exactly I toy with him. First predict his side jump, then he just walks back because he feels like that side ain't safe, then I finish it off with a pre-cone slash floor. In this next clip I'll show you how you can exploit the pre-cone floor trick, and your opponent just won't know what to do anymore at that point, honestly. He won't know what to do. Let me show you how to just simply confuse your enemy. In this clip my opponent is trying to shoot me down when I'm on high ground. I went behind him and hit him. After that I gotta keep moving. He's gonna be looking to trade the shot, and by the time he jumps I want to be somewhere else entirely to deliver the final blow.
No. Oh, that's a nice trick, bro. Come on.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about high ground things in this video, so it's time we talk a bit about low ground. Regaining high ground in particular. There's two main strategies I use on low ground. The Twifo cone, which is jumping up while placing a wall on a cone, so someone 1 or 2 layers above you will lose their momentum, or a strat that has no name but it goes like this. I double ramp out and instead of placing 2 cones I place 4. The trick is that I could come out of any of these 4 cones, so it's very hard to play high ground against me. It's so good because you can't hit me from on top of me. If you move to the left to get an angle on me, you'll lose high ground because it just happens too fast. If you move to the right, you will get coned and also lose high ground. That's why it's such a good strategy and it's very hard to just hit me. Without further ado, let's show some clips about it.
I'm not really scared of 1v1 anyone, like, to be honest.
Ja, tuurlijk. Maar die, ja. Maar kijk, je zult zien. Ja, het is moeilijk uit te leggen, man. Maar als ik nu zou zeggen, normaal. Snap je? Deze.
Oh, I keep like blocking myself. Let's see.
No, but I should have just hit you and you would have been dead. Like you just 50-50'd it so hard. You just got outplayed to the fucking mark. The last thing I want to talk about is taking shots on low ground. If you want untraded shots from low ground, it's gonna be very, very difficult. The trick to do that is to shoot when someone is still running up their ramp and you can just about not see them yet. If you time it right, you'll be able to shoot from low ground without having any trade shots. That's very inconsistent, so we aren't going to talk about that any further. I want to show you guys a situation in which you can always take a shot from low ground. This is when your opponent is one shot. Low ground shots are almost always traded, but you can shoot first most of the time. So if your opponent is one shot, it doesn't matter. Let's say your opponent is one shot and building above you. You can just break him down and shoot him out of the air. Here's a clip of that.
Yeah, and it fucking bumps me off. Let's go, I'm just default dancing. I don't care. I'm gonna build up.
I just wanted to thank you guys for watching. If you made it all the way here, and if you learned something, please let me know in the comments. And if you want to see something else, please let me know in the comments. I know a lot about 1v1s, know a lot about editing fast, etc. If you want to know something, just ask me. If you want to 1v1 me, you can add me on Epic, creepy space Erad. Thank you so much for watching again. Peace.